This video is sponsored by Fabletics. More on them later. For so long, I couldn't win anything. People called me mean names like the second place guy, the guy who can't win without cheating, and most recently, the most painful of them all, the guy who stinks at Pokemon.
I do not stink at Pokemon.
This is like the only thing I do. So you could say I was pretty excited when I got a DM from a small up-and-coming YouTuber named ALPHARAD'S. He said, "Hey, I'm hosting a Nuzlocke race with P-Chow, Flygon, Drew, and Captain Kid. We thought you'd be a great fit to finish in second place." What? Rude, but I had to take him up on it. An opportunity to compete against 4 of the best Nuzlockers in the world. I needed this. So what was the challenge? A Nuzlocke race through Pokemon Emerald with a twist. We had to draft our Pokemon. The Pokemon in the draft were unknown to us until it was their turn to be auctioned off. Oh yeah, this is an auction draft. We each started with $15,000 in our budget, and ALPHARAD'S would start bidding at $100. We could then offer as much as we wanted from there for each Pokemon. And I had a strategy, and I wasn't going to overthink it. This was the Hoenn region, a waterlogged map where 2 of the most important battles are water-type bosses. Electric and grass types were high on my priority list. Next on the priority list was literally anything fast. I didn't want to waste turns moving seconds, so if Snorlax or Regigigas come up, I don't care how strong they are, I'm all set. Finally, I really needed a dark type for Tate and Liza. Without one, I don't know what I'll do. And honestly, the full draft was wild, with players having very different strategies, but my recap was this. My first pick was Barboach for $1,000. Budget Mudkip felt like a good first pick, where Mudkip is the best starter in this region by far. Next, I secured Bagon for $700. I guess the guy wasn't usable until the Elite Four, but what an Elite Four one, you know? Aerodactyl was my 4th pick for $1,200. Fast, strong, rock slide flinches inbound. I felt confident about it. My most expensive pick came at 7 when I went all in for a fast grass dark type. Sprigatito checked off every one of my boxes. $2,200 was going to be worth every penny. At 10, I took a Alolan Vulpix for $600. Ice Stone wasn't going to be available until Lily Cove, but again, Elite Four potential here. 13th, I took Rowlet for $300. I'll be honest, I couldn't believe I got him for this cheap. 16th, I picked up Oricorio Bile for only $200. 21st, I drafted Voltorb, the fastest electric type, for a whopping $950. Arkin was a great pickup for me at 23 for $400. And finally, I took Chimchar at 25th for $600. Here was my full draft for anyone curious. Now, as I looked across the landscape of my competitors, there was one individual who stood out among the rest: Flygon. Flygon had built his team similar to mine, fast and consistent. And if anyone knew the standard Pokemon Emerald game, it was gonna be him. He had all the tools to be the front runner and win this race. Without wasting any more time, the 5 of us lined up to race. ALPHARAD'S counted us down, and we were off. My brain was so laser focused on the obstacles ahead, man. I was here for this. I knew that I needed to get to Roxanne as soon as possible, and that my water and grass types both had sweeping potential for that fight. I button mashed like Ludwig and prepared to do that all the way through the first gym. Water Pulse Barboach was an awesome first pickup. It's so funny how stressed I was pointing out that I lost a turn because May didn't concede defeat first turn. I do wonder how many of these little details actually ended up adding up in the end. We got the bike instantly, and I know biking has its pros and cons. You can get stuck against the wall for a little bit sometimes, but I figured we'd just have to high roll. If I biked well, I could improve my time by a significant margin. I was definitely one of the first to get to Roxanne, though I couldn't really tell. What really mattered was that none of these Pokemon were sturdy in this fight, so I was able to power through both of the Geodudes. Nosepass, on the other hand, was a really tough out, and it stayed alive for way too long. I risked some crits on Barboach, admittedly, but I figured, I mean, what's the worst case scenario, really? Barboach dies? Oh no, like, I don't know. We made it through. Brawly time. And I was hustling. I didn't know where anyone else was because it didn't matter. I just had to keep at my own pace and keep my eyes on the road. I had drafted a couple of great Brawlymons for this next fight, but I actually had bigger team building strategies than to just plan for the one in front of me. My thoughts were that I, generally speaking, could build 2 gyms ahead, especially if I had a sweeper for the first one. So my counter for the Brawly fight was Oricorio. I was willing to use Aerodactyl if I had to as backup, but I figured that was a pretty safe plan. The rest of my team was was made of Watson and Flannery checks in Barboach, Diglett, Yamask, and Wobbuffet. This would stop me from having to switch my team in between every single fight. When I walked into Brawly's gym, I didn't really consider how all of those times I fought Brawly and Vanilla Emerald had paid off. I never ran into optionals anymore. I brought out the brooms for an easy 4-turn throttle of the Macho Man's team, and we were out in like 2 minutes. I did have to dip into Steven's little tunnel for a bit, but it was all worth it in the end. I was in the lead by, well, not a lot, but I just had to keep up my pace. I only hit one optional in between Slateport and Mauville and charged headfirst into Watson's gym like things were going to work out for me. Diglett was being tasked with beating the entire gym basically by itself. How could things go wrong? I mean, it's the best Pokemon, so we're good.
I thought he could use a friend down here, just like him. Sup, buddy? I'm actually really grateful to be wearing this sweatshirt right now because it is cold in Watson's gym. Actually, winter's coming right now, which is why I'm excited to show you guys the sponsor of today's video, Fabletics.
This December, Fabletics will help you wrap yourself up or gift others in warmth, comfort, and style. They're introducing new joggers and hoodies to keep you cozy for the holidays. Men's bestseller items are also getting an upgrade, and you don't want to miss these limited time items.
I took a couple of photos to show you some of the stuff I got, including this slick jacket to keep me warm, but still mobile and flexible, this sweatshirt and vest to keep me comfy and stylish, and this super nice hoodie with a super cozy interior.
And guys, the VIP program is the way to go, saving up to 50% daily on products and giving you 1 credit for a 2-piece outfit on any product up to $100.
Also, look at this onesie I got.
Click on the link in the description to get 80% off the entire site when you sign up for the VIP program. Again, that's 80% off the entire site. All you have to do is click on the link in the description and sign up to be a VIP. Thank you to Fabletics for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back into things. Diglett trounced this gym, smacking Voltorb with Bulldoze, dismantling Mag Trio as well, and not knocking out Manectric, but tanking a +1 quick attack from it to survive, and the final Electrike was out. Diglett wanted to stay in and risk this quick attack, but Arrow wouldn't let him. Arrow stepped out last second and dropped a Rock Slide, finishing the fight and allowing Diglett to see another day. And then I made a grave mistake. I decided to grab the Strength HM right now. This was nothing but a time sink, as I was going to have to head this way in the long run anyways. Every second matters, guys. That's why I elected to hit every optional I could along the next path. I didn't even have to go to the left towards Hiker Trent, and I took on the optional as the story had been streamlined to remove all the bad guy plots, and Full Arbor and Meteor Falls were no longer mandatory to visit. So this was just me being not good. Great news though, I was on a path and roll after that, and Flannery's gym was the one that I knew like the back of my hand, so I was popping in and out of these little mole holes real nice, and then trying to move as fast as possible. I conceded that Doug Trio, our Gym 3 hero, was most likely kicking rocks here, so I had Buddy rock the opening Numel, and then I had it taken overheat to the dome. From there, Aerodactyl took over, ripping wing attacks and 90% accurate rock slides over and over until the Fire Girl was defeated. And I can't help but think Doug Trio must have been proud, doing it all and then passing it to Arrow. It's a real shame that Doug Trio wouldn't be around to see the success Arrow would have from here on out. But Arrow was prepared to take the lead from here and had a distinct advantage heading into the normal gym. And I decided to bring a ton of useful guys for this one, including Fluffy Beware, probably the star of the team. But there was one real issue with that. He didn't learn any fighting moves yet. Are you kidding? That's ridiculous. That's like being an NFL kicker that misses field goals, a designated hitter that doesn't get on base, or a shooting guard that can't shoot free throws. No punching moves from Beware? What are we doing? I came up with an awful strategy for Norman on the fly because I had to, and I sprinted in. I opened with Hitmonlee, who blitzed Spinda, and then the demon was in, slaking. So I tried. I did literally no damage with this Beware. I tried Endure Flail strats, which was funny, I guess, but like, yeah. This went on for far too long, and I sunk in the race standings. Hitmonlee had to switch in to actually do something, and once it fell, Arrow took care of Vigoroth, and the Belly Drum Lanoon was in. I couldn't remember if this thing had extreme speed, so after leaving it at like no HP, I switched into a Ghost type, and I kind of just hoped that it would be immune to every attack. Judging by our success, I presume it was. I don't know, but we were pushing on. Dude, that fight was so demoralizing. Walking into that wall battle in Slaking really set me back. No, I didn't really know where everyone was. I couldn't keep tabs on everything, but every time someone defeated a gym, I got a notification from ALPHARAD, and Flygon headquarters had at least 10 minutes on me. And then I tried a secret. I held the tab key so I could speed. I took a major detour that I didn't know if anyone else took, but I was gambling that it would pay off in the long run. I explored the deep, dark depths of New Mauville. I needed to grab the mystical, ever so elusive Thunderbolt TM. With the amount of water in this region, I figured this might be the single most important TM in the game. I immediately taught it to Electrode, who was not going to use it to the best of its ability, but whatever. I needed something to zip and zap, and Electrode's what I had. I prepared for Winona, who unfortunately needed a ton of slots on my team to beat, so I wasn't able to prep for Tate and Liza at the same time like I'd done in previous gyms. Good news though, using Electrode and Arrow, I dunked on this route like it was Kendrick Perkins, and I carried the hell on. But yeah, Winona looked like it could be tough, and having no sweeper for it was going to be a huge slice out of my trying to beat the second place allegations cake. But you know, I'm a genius, so I substituted sweeper Pokemon for hasty, kind of bad decision making strategies, opting to rely heavy on my favorite move, Rock Slide. We put Swablu in the blender with it, but then Skarmory came out next. This was the one Pokemon Arrow had like no real way to deal with, so I had to get it out of there. And Electrode switched into Charge Beam, and after taking the damage that we took from Skarmory, we were now dead to Earthquake from Altaria. Arrow swapped back in and dodged the oh so scary Dragon Breath Paralysis en route to a Tropius visit. This is when Wob got its debut, a safety net that served to bail us out of any high octane offensive move. Solar Beam launched, and Wob smacked that stuff out of there with a Mirror Coat. Electrode switched back into Clap Pelipper, and we were through the 6th gym. With Winona behind us, we now officially had access to the Mon that took up the most of our salary cap, Meowscarada. Meowscarada was not only fast, it also packed a guaranteed critical hitting grass move in Flower Trick. This move would be super effective against 7 of the last 9 gym Pokemon, and had all the potential in the world to take this Elite Four by storm. So I biked like Lance Armstrong, and I surfed like Bethany Hamilton, and I waltzed into the 7th gym to take on Tate and Liza. Remember, Magma Hideout and Aqua Hideout don't exist in this game. We were pedal to the metal gunning this thing. And in the gym leading up to the fight, I discovered the most beautiful truth. Meowscarada's signature move, Flower Trick, was animationless. Not waiting for pictures and lasers to show up every turn like every other move. 2-step process. Click, murder. There was one other pretty important Pokemon on this team for this gym that I'd yet to mention in Decidueye, who was also debuting for our overpowered team. Being behind, I didn't bother to head back to heal and recoup my burnt moves after taking on all the gym trainers, but rather just dove directly into the Tate and Liza throwdown, leading with the Great Gato and Arrow. Flower Trick into Rock Slide took down Claydol and left Xatu barely alive. And then the most terrifying Mon on the team was in. Flamethrower, Rock Slide, Soul Rock. Xatu healed as I Flower Tricked the Soul Rock, but the Citrus Berry pulled it out of Rock Slide range. It lived. But you all know what was coming next. I mean, whose channel is this? Come on. One more combo of Rock Slide and Flower Trick was just enough. We had 7 badges. And headed underwater, I knew I was still behind Flygon by a considerable margin. No time to think about that though. Water Gym, same team. Hopefully Meowscarada can sweep. Good news, I defeated Love Disc, who's, you know, hard to beat. And then Kingdra took the floor. I'm not afraid of this guy. I'm just gonna play rough. I hope it doesn't double team, but it could. That's fine. Oh, an Ice Beam. How much damage does that do? A lot? A little? Oh, I think my game's over. I didn't know what to do. All I really knew was that I had to keep moving as fast as possible. This was my most expensive pick from the draft. My prized partner, El Gato. Down the drain? Hitmonlee tried to fill in the blanks like he'd done before, ripping close combats and even flinging a high jump kick into the Whiscash to stomp on Juan, which was great. And no more deaths, I guess, but ow. I had planned to use that guy for almost every Elite Four member. What an absolute travesty. But In all honesty, there was no time to mope anyways. As I approached Victory Road, Flygon was leaving it, preparing to take on the Elite Four. I essentially had to recover 10 minutes of lost time minimum if I had any chance in taking this race. Guys, I don't want to be the second place guy again. I gave Victory Road that Gronk spike, making it to the Elite Four after just a few moments. I did have a sizable lead on the rest of the pack, but what matters is that Flygon was at Glacia, and I hadn't started yet. I devised my Elite Four plan as quickly as possible. Flew to Lily Cove to defeat May and got access to the department store. And then I purchased the Ice Stone. Using this, I was able to evolve Alolan Ninetales for the Elite Four, specifically to match up against Sydney and potentially Drake. Who was the rest of the Elite Four squad? Decidueye was a must bring for Phoebe and Wallace. Electrode was too fast to pass up for Glacia and maybe Wallace. Infernape was going to be a nightmare for Sydney or Glacia. Archeops let Arrow take the day off, and I was just hoping it would be there to be fast and furious in an emergency. And the final Mence was a great overall pick as a gold standard pseudo legendary. I didn't have time to think. There was nothing to do about it. I had to go in. I took on Sydney before Flygon could finish the Glacia fight, changing the standings to look just a little different. And I did not use my brain for this fight at all. Ninetales just did the unspeakable, criminal things to this team of 5 with Dazzling Gleam. And because I operated so fast, I was able to close the gap just a little bit, because while I was starting the first Mon of Phoebe, Flygon was still on the final Mon of Glacia. I had a sweep prepared for this fight too, or at least I hoped. Decaduee's a hell of a Pokemon. It's fast enough, but there was no way it was dropping these Clopses with Spirit Shackle in one shot. And I was right, which broke my heart as Phoebe dropped the Confuse Ray onto my Owl. If I hurt myself in confusion even once or twice, I was gonna be in trouble. But Decidueye hit through not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 straight turns of being confused. Then, ignoring the double team from Sableye like a menace, the bird slashed the final Pokemon on Phoebe's team with Leaf Blade. A clean sweep kept me in this race. Flygon was at Drake, I was on Glacia. I didn't know if I had it, but I needed another sweep from another guy. Enter Infernape. Can I just say, using this new ROM hack engine with the new Mons and the old games is a hilariously fun demonstration of power creep. I knew that I could power up Punch first as this Celio always set up Hail, and I figured I might as well pop another to get the knockout. I proceeded to close combat the rest of the roster. Infernape during that fight reminded me of like someone who punches a lot or something. I couldn't think of a reference, guys. I wanted to do something fun there and I couldn't think of anything. Unfortunately, while I had chipped at the lead quite a bit, my dreams were fading pretty quickly. Flygon was entering the champion fight and I was entering Drake. If he wins the champion fight, it's over. I was looking at trying to sweep this guy with Alolan Ninetales, and this was a great idea until turn 2. Where I found out Flamethrower Salamence was much faster and I got blitzed. But hey, I killed it with Ice Beam, I guess. I didn't even have time to steer. I sacrificed the Silver Fox to Flygon and sent in Mence to revenge kill, finding out that this girl too was slower than the supersonic speed monster in front of me. The brutal part was finding out that I was slower after smashing Outrage. And then getting paralyzed. Anything that swaps in after I net the KO here was gonna get a free shot at Mence without me having any opportunity to adjust the lineup. Nothing I can do. I watched Mence drop to 14 HP on Altaria's Dragon Breath and I begged it to get confused and it did. So we were able to pivot out. I swapped through Archeops, who died actually. It was the first battle I ever brought it to and it just kind of died. It flopped like a fish. It was not good. But it's okay. It's hard to be nervous with a Decidueye in your back pocket. Leaf Blade claimed another hostile soul, and we were moving to Wallace, where I was never going to even attempt to find a sweeper. I had 4 Mons: Salamence, Electrode, Infernape, and our clear, fearless leader, Decidueye. Not only did they have to defeat Wallace, they had to do it fast. I started the fight after Flygon had knocked out just 1 Pokemon from Wallace's stash. But as I knocked out Wailord with Decidueye, Flygon knocked out another. I had Infernape close combat Milo to do as much damage as possible before it passed away, and I had Electrode Thunderbolt twice to fry it. Our guy got poisoned in the process, which will be important later. But again, that was a 1-for-1. I didn't gain any ground as Flygon dropped his third opponent. Switching to Decidueye let me tie it up though, as Whiscash dropped quick, and Flygon got walled. And then, in a noble moment, knowing the cause at hand, Decidueye, our leader, volunteered to play sacrifice, chipping Tensa with Shadow Sneak, passing away, and allowing Electrode to get into the battle for free. Charge Beam into Thunderbolt smoked it, and Poison brought me to the brink. I was hoping that I was right, that Gyarados' Earthquake would cause it to come out first, and Wallace granted me my final wish, allowing me to pass Flygon by KOing Gyarados to a 5-3 lead in this showdown. Electrode died to Poison, getting our Bigments in for free. It was a 1v1 for the entire race. Terrified of Double Team, our only lose con at this point, my whole world lit up when I watched it toss out a Leech Seed. Down since Norman, I had flipped the script on what should have been my most obvious loss. I had caught Flygon and won the race. Can I just say there's so much more story to be told than what's in this video from the perspective of ALPHARAD and the rest of the runners. You should absolutely subscribe to ALPHARAD'S channel so you don't miss the full video dropping soon. Thank you guys. You know what you guys can call me now? You can call me the guy who won the first ALPHARAD Nuzlocke or auction race throwdown thing. Or you can keep calling me Petalburg Pete, which is roasting my 300 plus attempts at run and bun and a little messed up, but you can't make your own nicknames, I guess. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers, our VIP Plus subscribers, Grant, Chad, Tyler, Prita, Jeremy, Kiri, and Victoria. You